In first person point of view, the person telling the story is in the story. Typically, the person telling the story is telling that story in his or her own point of view. I, me, and mine shows that the storyteller is in that story. And in this video, you're going to learn everything about first person point of view, how to use it, and how to put it in writing. I'm very sure that you have once narrated a story about what happened to you, someone, or a friend. I'll be giving an example. Let's say that I went to the market and I rushed my friend and I told my friend, when I went to the market to buy tomatoes, I saw Debbie. What I just did was that I told that story in a first person point of view. I narrated what happened to me that day in my own point of view. The narrator is always in that story, narrating the story in that person's own point of view. One thing about telling stories in first person point of view is that it feels intimate and personal and even immersive. Now I'll be giving a simple example that will explain how first person narrative feels intimate and personal. Let's say a friend walks up to you and says, I was running around the bush. Now let's compare it with Debbie was running around the bush. I'm pretty sure that you notice that the first one sounds more intimate and more personal because it's the person that is telling the story directly to you. Like it feels direct. Another good thing about first person point of view is that you can write multiple points of views. That it allows the writer to write more than one character's own point of view. Some writers do that. Let's say in chapter 1, Arya is Arya's point of view. Then in chapter 2 is David's point of view. Then in chapter 3 is Arya's point of view again. Maybe chapter 4 is now Mark's point of view. And this kind of thing are actually good because it shows how humans can actually misunderstand themselves in something. Another wonderful thing about first person point of view is that it sounds believable. Because imagine I woke up to you and say I was running around the bush. It sounds more believable that I'm telling you that I'm running around the bush than when someone walks up to you and tell you that I was running around the bush. Another great thing about first person point of view is that it allows you to develop your characters more. It shows your character's struggles and conflicts about things, and it's very easy for your readers to connect very well to that character and easily relate to that character. An example is, let's say you ate this very peppery food and then, it will show you your facial expression that the food was very peppery. So if someone asks you at that particular moment how peppery was that food, the way you describe it will not be the same way that someone who didn't even eat the food would have described it. Because you are the one that's feeling that particular struggle. If you're writing a first person point of view and you're writing that character's point of view about a particular struggle, you'll be able to write more about how that person felt at that particular moment. So it is very easy for your readers to connect with that character. Although there are good sides in first person narrative or point of view, there are also the bad sides. And the first downside about it is that it is limited. You cannot describe things that the character cannot see. Using the previous example of when David was running around the bush, if she comes to you and is like, I was running around the bush, it means that she only knows that she was running around the bush or maybe some things around her. But if a madman from afar sees her and is now running towards her, she wouldn't know because her whole concentration is that she's running around the bush. So she might not even see the madman that's even running towards her back or something, maybe, unless if the madman draws closer to her or something like that. But if the madman is afar and then is coming closer to her, they will not even know unless someone else can see both of them, and that's the only person that can tell that a madman is running towards Debbie, that is running around the bush. Another thing is that it is hard for the character to describe themselves. Imagine a character thinking this: roughly, I brushed through my long coily brown hair with my fingertips while gazing at my reflection. Then I stared deeply into my sky blue eyes. Now, is it possible that anyone has ever thought like that? Like, it's not possible. No one thinks like that. No one has ever thought like that. So please don't write like that. Another thing is that you can only describe what your character is thinking or feeling, but you cannot describe like something outside, like what other characters are thinking or feeling. I'll give you an example. When Jane saw me, her heart skipped a beat. Like, how on earth did you know that Jane's heart skipped a beat? You're not in her, you don't know what's happening in her body, so you're not her, so it's not possible. It's just not possible. The thing is that you can only describe what they see outwardly in that character. Now, let's say Jane was happy. The only way another character can describe how happy Jane was is that maybe Jane was jumping excitedly, that is all. Another downside is that when using multiple points of views, you should be careful so your characters will not start sounding the same. It's possible that as you are writing, you forget that this is the particular personality I've assigned for this kind of character. You start making them feel the same, and the only way you can stop this is to stick to the personality traits of your character. So don't make them sound the same. Now let's get into the tenses that we can use in first person point of view, and they are the past tense and the present tense. So I'll be starting with the past tense. In past tense first person point of view, the narrator is telling the story as if it has happened. It's the character's past. Writing a past tense actually shows that it has been told than happening. And I'll be giving an example.
I opened my mouth to speak but started choking up.
Which brings us to the next one, present tense. In present tense, the story is happening. Just like when you are watching a movie, as you are watching, the events are happening at the same time. So present tense gives that movie feel. So now I'm changing the past tense of that previous example that I gave to a present tense.
I opened my mouth to speak but starts choking up.
It just carries the reader along with the story. An advice that you should note while using first person narrative is that you mustn't overuse I. I is most commonly used in first person narrative, but you shouldn't overuse it. An example is,
I opened my mouth to speak but I started choking up.
the I there is not wrong, it's not, but it now feels overused. I mean, the previous example that has no I feels more immediate and less repetitive. Also, just in case you are still wondering how to use first person narrative, I do write short stories and I put it up on my website. So the website link is in the description down below and you can check it out anytime you want. They are also free. So this is the end of this video and I hope it was very helpful. If it was, please subscribe and hit that notification button so you can always get notified whenever I upload helpful videos like this. See you next time.